Hi guys, Evan here. Today we're looking at PT14 Game 3. This is a grouping game and a pretty tricky one. You know, it's got these unusual groups and I haven't seen anything too reminiscent of this that I can think of. So maybe it's kind of more of an anomaly, this game. Something that we saw in early prep tests that's not coming back too much. Because I think that the language of the setup is a little complex and it could be easy to make mistakes that don't really have anything to do with whether you're getting a good grasp on the rules and logic. You know, so I think they've gone towards more clear setups in all modern LSAT games, whereas this one kind of lends itself to confusion potentially, and I think they've kind of steered away from that. But anyways, let's take a look. It's a game such that when you figure out kind of a key inference, you're really all set. So as long as you are thinking carefully during the setup of the game, you're going to have a fairly easy time with it. So what do we have here? First we get a chart, and we've got like these goldfinches. I'll just label them with a G. And then we're told whether they're male or female. So I'll just reduplicate the chart here. When they give you a chart on the LSAT, generally, like, I just stick with that, and I don't bother rewriting it. And then our females are J and K. This is goldfinches. And we've got lovebirds. I should be careful that I'm doing this in lowercase. M, N for a female lovebird. And then lastly, we've got parakeets. Q, R, S, T, and W are females. Okay, so that's all our game pieces. Then we get the setup here. We've got the breeder exhibits pairs of birds consisting of one male and one female of the same kind. So what does that mean exactly? Well, you're going to have to get, like, say, H and J together, or M and N together, or Q and T, R and T, you know, etc., etc. So, you know, you'll just be exhibiting one type, and most two pairs of birds can be exhibited at the same time. So, I'm kind of not quite sure how to diagram this yet, but then I see that the remaining birds must be in two other cages. So it's pretty clear to me that I've got, like, the exhibit, and then I've got these two other cages. 1 and 2. So I'm grouping these things into these cages. And then I can kind of cordon it off however I want. And my exhibits are going to consist of, you know, one male and female pair. And then I get some more rules here. Neither cage can contain more than 4 birds. So we've got a 4 maximum. You know, I might want to indicate it like that, like this. Keeping in mind that 4 is the most. The distribution might end up being different. Of course, if I have like 2 pairs over here in the exhibition side. So I'm looking for more information here. It tells us next, any 2 birds that are both of the same sex and same kind cannot be caged together. And clearly we're talking about just these cages over here, you know, cage 1 and 2, because you can never exhibit 2 things of the same sex over here. That would violate the rule that these have to be a male and female pair, right? So maybe it's good to circle the things that can't go together over in these cages. Here's QRS, JK, TW. You can also write it out like the way you might be more used to doing it. None of those can be together. JK, TW. None of those can be together. And here's really the key inference that you can see by that. Say I want to kick J and K out, right? Well, they'd have to be like this, right? Or TW would have to be like this if we weren't exhibiting T or W, right? But when you get to QRS, imagine you try and put Q, R, and then S like this. Well, you're violating that rule. You'd have to put one of Q, R, and S into the exhibit in all cases, right? So say I try and put R and S here, that kicks Q into here. And Q is a parakeet, so then we now know we need T or W with it. So there's always going to be a parakeet pair exhibited over in the exhibition section. And we don't yet know whether we have another pair of birds exhibited. That's always kind of a question mark, right? We might have it, we might not. So I might leave it here, like a question mark. Do we have this? We don't know yet. And then let's make sure we get rid of all this junk in here, because that was just to talk about the rules, how they played out. But we do always know that we've got our parakeet couple over here in the exhibition side, and that's a major inference. And if you want, you can put, Q, R, S here, and then this one is TW. That might get a little visually confusing. Just remember that, male-female pair have to go in there. Okay, so with that, I think we're really ready to go on to the questions. So let's take a look. I'm going to skip 13, the acceptability question. That's just going to be a matter of taking each rule one at a time and see where it's violated, just like everything else. Let's move on to 14. Okay, so for 14, which one of the following lists two pairs of birds that the breeder can exhibit at the same time? I'm just taking a look based on, what we know here with having to have the parakeet couple, and see if we can answer this. Okay, H and J, M and N, that's not a parakeet couple, so that's out right away. H and J, S and T would be okay, except it violates the J exhibited, then S cannot be exhibited rule. So there's not too many rules to keep track of, so we should be able to just do this in our head running down with what we know already. C, H and K, M and N. H and K, M and N. No, that's, again, violating the fact that we need to have a parakeet couple in here. Again, that key inference was just so important. And what's our last one? What's D? H and K, R and W? That all looks fine, We've got the parakeet couple that we need. We're not violating this other rule. And there's no real other rules going on, right? So you should be able to be pretty comfortable with saying, yeah, that's a fine order. If you want to take a look at E, M and N, S and W, well, that's violating the W, then not S rule again. So again, there's only a few real rules to work here. Like I said, once we know this parakeet thing, we really pretty much know this game, and it's going to be pretty easy from here. So D is the answer for 14. 15 gives us Q and R in the cages, right? So we need to split them up because they're both males. So we can just do it like this, QR. Let's write another one down here, a mini diagram. Q and R, here's our exhibition side. So we'd have Q and R, Q and R, and that forces S into the parakeet side here. And then when we have S, there's no way to have W, which means we have to have T, right? So S and T is definitely our parakeet pair. W's got to be somewhere over in the cages. So that's a lot of work. I'm definitely checking if I just answered the question before I try and make any further inferences. What must be true here? I'm just going to look at for something that I've already figured out. H is exhibited, K is exhibited, no. N is exhibited, J is assigned to one of the cages. Well, yeah, it's a little tough to see there, but J has to be assigned to the cages, because say you put J in, then S would have to be out. That wouldn't be okay. So J has to be in one of the cages. I didn't get that inference right away in the initial work that I did, but I'm able to see it pretty quickly. A more journeyman way to do that would have been, if I'm not getting the answer right away, I would have gone back and looked at my additional rules and see what what additional inferences I can make. There's only one more rule to take into account, so it should be pretty quick. But anyways, D, J is assigned to one of the cages, is the answer. And you got a little bit of a look at my convoluted thought process in getting to that. But anyways, doing what I thought we should do, which is, do this work and then head to the answer choices, turned out to be okay. 16 puts Q and T out in the cages. So with Q and T in the cages, we know we definitely have W in the exhibition, right? And then W kicks S out, and that puts R in. So now I've determined that R and W definitely have to be in the exhibition. I'm looking at that's the answer, and I see it jumping out right at me. They're a pair that must be exhibited, which is what we're looking for with 16. That gives us D as the answer. Pretty quick work. Again, we're just playing with this whole parakeet thing. That's really the secret to this game. 17 is a global question, just asking us what cannot be true. So I'm really hoping, I'm going to take at least a first pass at it and hope it's something that we just know from this information that we determined in our main setup. A, one pair of parakeets are the only birds exhibited together. I don't, know enough to cross that off yet. I'm looking for something that jumps out at me as it cannot be true. B, one pair of goldfinches and one pair of lovebirds exhibited together. Yeah, that cannot be true because where are our parakeets? Remember, max 2 pairs of birds gets exhibited over in the exhibition side. So if we had G and L's, we'd have no room for the P that we know we need. Gives us B as the right answer. So with cannot be true questions, or global must be true questions, always check if you've already solved it by doing your work at the beginning of the game when you were setting up your main diagram. If you haven't solved it already, usually you've missed some key inference there. That should be a strategy that you always apply to these types of questions. 18 has S as one of the birds exhibited. So we've got S in one of our exhibits. Then we can't have W, because if W, then that kicks out S. So we know T is exhibited, right? And then that throws into the outside, the 1 and 2 side. We know that we then have all the rest of the parakeets, W, Q, and R. And we got to split up Q and R naturally. So it must be true that R is assigned to a cage. That pops right out at me. E is the correct answer because R has to be assigned to a cage. I just did the quick inferences that I could make, and then I checked to see if I'd answered the question already. And there it is, popping right out at me. E, R must be assigned to one of the cages. Okay, so once we had this P thing all figured out, it's turned out to be a pretty easy game. The tough thing was sort of negotiating these rules with how to set this up with a grouping scenario with our exhibit over here and our cages over here that had different rules applying to them, really. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed that one. See you soon. Bye.